The Learning Spaces Collaboratory YouTube series is an opportunity to present stories from the LSC community about planning that focuses on the future of 21st century learning spaces for 21st century learners.
Floyd, why don't you maybe start the story of the Clemson Center?
Sure. Again, this was a facility that started years ago when the university just had a vision of trying to better serve its students and providing a facility for innovation and advanced learning, a facility that they didn't have anywhere before. And so the story begins with the president and the provost going on a road trip and, trying to engage stakeholders and people who want to be part of this experience and opportunity. And the named donor got involved, and they really worked at pulling together resource, pulling together the deans of the university and various faculty members and representatives around the university to come together and put together this university-wide resource called the Watt Family Innovation Center.
We'll go back to Denny and Barbara now.
Well, I think Floyd actually got that story down pretty well, but the key to this was that conversations between Clemson's administrators and the donor all, coalesced around the central theme. And so the mission emerged that we'll talk about a little later.
Jim, would you like to talk about the Grinnell vision and what your project is about?
So our overall driving force was to really provide an excellent undergraduate learning experience for our students, to encourage them to be science professionals and to understand science. And we were particularly attentive to trying to do a better job with students who were traditionally underrepresented in science. And so the goal was to really rethink our curriculum and our pedagogy and how to build community and then integrate what our space planning within that to try to overall improve our science programs.
So you can see we have two quite different projects, but attention to the learner and learning and kind of what they will do when they leave the campus is, so now we're going to turn the story over to Clemson, and they're going to kind of talk through their whole story about the what, why, and how, and of serving their vision, meeting their vision by the way they plan the spaces and how the spaces are used. So I think Barbara and Denny are going to begin.
Okay, so as Floyd indicated, the conversations between Clemson administrators and the donors allowed us to come forward with a sort of a unique mission for the Watt Center. And the Watt Center is Clemson's newest academic building, but we also see ourselves as a prototype for the campus. So the Watt Center was envisioned as a catalyst for cross-disciplinary interactions among campus entities, but then especially with outside industries. And all of this was intended to take place in an interactive, technology-rich, very modern learning environment, which we'll tell you about. One of the interesting things, nope, not yet, Penny. One of the interesting things about the Watt is that we're not affiliated with any one department or college, and that's very deliberate. We are very welcoming of students and faculty from all disciplines. On this slide, what you'll see is that we have projects ranging from engineering to the humanities. Up in the corner, it looks like they're playing tennis in the building, but that's actually a project monitoring brain waves as people go through various activities. In this case, it was tennis. They've done many other activities. On the bottom of the slide, we see teachers from English and from the nursing department. In the middle, we have an engineering class. So what we look at the Watt as being is a place for, we call it creative collisions among people from different disciplines. Next slide tells you something else about creative collisions. The Watt's location was actually a very deliberate consideration in planning. In putting the Watt up, we actually established a new academic heart for the campus. The Watt sits, you see the Watt in yellow sign there. The Watt sits on a green that is flanked by the Watt on one side, the library to the north, and our academic success center, which is where student tutoring tutoring, and student assistance on the far side of the green. So the intention is that this is a very student-focused area. It's very different from our other areas on campus, which are mostly for teaching. This is actually a student engagement area, and that was deliberate. The green is going to be landscaped soon, and it will also become very much a student hub. And in assembling the building itself, Clemson wanted to build not for the present, not to backfill a need, but to build for the future. We're looking at the generations to come, far beyond the students we have now. And so as we'll talk about, it has very innovative architecture and furnishings, all of which are very flexible to adapt to future needs that we don't know what they are yet. We are very committed to state-of-the-art technology. All of our computer and technology systems in the building are pushing the edge of what students have had at Clemson and what they will be doing both at Clemson and in their future careers. We also see the lot as being a prototype for other buildings on campus. We're the first classroom academic building that's been built in a while here, but as the university gets into building more classroom-type buildings, and we have several on the horizon, we want them to look at the lot as a model. So we see ourselves as something of an experiment. One of the things that we do that pushes the envelope here in the Watt is we host Clemson's undergraduate research program. And we have a program called Creative Inquiry in which we immerse undergrads in projects, in team-based projects that extend over multiple semesters. And many of these projects address real-world problems, both within the university, within the disciplines, and also internationally. We have more than 5,000 students a year involved in this. I threw a couple of pictures up. The top picture is just what students collaborating on a project, but below that you can see a picture, a bird's eye view of our student makerspace, which itself was a creative inquiry project. The next one is a group that had been working on wheels that they use for vehicles that go out into outer space, so NASA-based problem. We also have a number of international projects. Along the bottom, you see some projects that are working in Tanzania, Nicaragua, and Haiti, everything from developing medical devices for low-cost medical devices for use out in the field to building and maintaining water systems. I will note that we won the 2016 award for undergraduate research accomplishments for the breadth of our creative inquiry program. Danny, next slide, and I think that's you take on. You go on now.
Great. Well, thank you, Barbara. Well, I'm sure as you saw some of the photos already, one of the main architectural features of the building here, and it starts from outside and it permeates throughout the building, is transparency. And so that was very much an important factor in how we designed the interior of the building and what distinctive features that we put in it as far as the lighting goes, the media lighting on the outside, which is an outstanding way to advertise what's going on campus, what's going on in the building. We put in flooring and demountable wall systems that allow us to change up the rooms literally over the weekend, which allows us to tailor them to the size of the classes, the type of format, or the layout that the faculty members would like to promote collaboration within their classrooms. We also put in a lot of high-capacity networks, not only wired networks, but wireless networks to promote collaboration through connection to the devices that are throughout the building, from large screen displays in the atrium to the auditorium to the classrooms themselves with content, sound that can be shared throughout the building, a very innovative design. And Barbara talked about the makerspace. We really try to create spaces, though, that allow faculty and students to come in and make them the way that they want them to promote whatever type of research or academic support activities they're involved in. In addition, just to drill down a little bit more, you can see some of these classrooms on the right-hand side of the slide. The upper two are workspaces and can serve as small classrooms and larger classrooms. And then the bottom two photos are the atrium and just a small project room. But in the middle there, you see this room that we refer to as a command and control center. That particular room allows us to connect up all the different rooms in the building that have connectivity capability, but it also serves as a way to set up recording, to set up lighting, to adjust volumes and connections that we have not only within the building, but also outside the building. So very much emphasis on integrated technology as almost like a test bed for learning so that we can help inform the decisions that are made in other construction projects of what really should go into the room based on what they're trying to achieve in the rooms. And this gets back to Barbara's comments about the Creative Inquiry Program. It's about cross-disciplinary emphasis. It's about not only bringing our college together, but it's also building the relationships with our government and industry sponsors, which played a big role in how this building got designed as well. But it gets back to the most important criteria that we asked with something coming into the building is how does it support our students? What's it going to do for both our undergraduate students and our graduate students to create a better learning environment for them? And then the last thing I'd like to touch on, which is really a critical feature of the design that we did with the technology in the building, was we're extending our campus, you might say, to key locations around the state of South Carolina as a priority to have our students perceive their environment as one that's not just on campus, but it extends not only statewide, but globally through what we call collaborative work suites, which we've actually set up operations with distant learning to Charleston. We have a facility that looks very similar to a typical classroom in the Watt Center at the University of South Carolina Innovation Center in Columbia that ties in with academic and research activities there. So when we use the word ecosystem, we look at it as not only our internal system, but all the touch points that we have outside the building. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Floyd, who will pick up on more of the details of the building.
Okay. Thanks, Denny. And so what I'll do, I'll talk a little bit more about how all the things that Denny and Barbara talked about started to materialize in terms of physical built form. The program for the building was developed around the desire for flexible program space as well as high-profile course space. The blue that you see on the plan is some of the flex space represented by classrooms, meeting rooms, and project labs. And then some of the other colors like the green on the level 1 and other spaces are more of the core support functions, the public functions, the surrounding things to help reinforce the flexible nature of the building. One thing the university also had was a strong desire for a building image that gave a nod to Clemson's past, but more importantly looked to Clemson's future by providing modern features like glass walls and other things that you wouldn't see other places on campus. And they were very intent on not building any more old-fashioned buildings on campus. Along those same lines, the university president at the time also provided a mandate that the facility display some form of electronic architecture, and that was a new term to us. We had to figure out what that meant. But he wanted this architecture to serve, electronic architecture to serve as an outward physical manifestation of the high-tech innovative learning activities that were happening inside. So since there was so much technology inside, how do we display that on the building and use it to communicate to the students, to the campus, the awesome things that are taking place within. The university also wanted to use the building to communicate the university's strong brand while also putting innovation on display for the hundreds of visitors that come in daily as well as the students that cycle through this building each and every day. That brand experience begins at the heartbeat of the facility, which is this atrium space for this image and the last image. It's a multifunctional space for events, demonstrations, poster board sections, events, and it's kind of a connecting member that connects all the different aspects of the building. The university also set a goal that the building must inspire the freshman general engineering students to improve the department's retention rate and inspire undergraduate innovation. Providing technology, views, and natural light were big parts of the solution, and you kind of get that sense as you look at these views. Informal learning spaces were desired throughout the building, where students can pretty much walk up to any informal space that's outfitted with electronics and wirelessly connect without having to pull a cord or anything like that. They can just go their laptop or iPhone or whatever and connect directly to a display and instantly collaborate, which is a interesting feature that we've never done before until this project. Formal learning spaces. We have formal learning spaces that range from high-tech 72-student active learning classrooms down to small learning spaces that double as classrooms or project labs. Again, these spaces are cladded with technology while also providing an opportunity for students to write on the glass walls, where we have writable wall surfaces on solid walls, the furniture themselves. Pretty much anything is used for collaboration in this building. Because this facility is a university resource geared towards innovation and academic learning, the variety and character of space forms out of the need to meet a diversity of needs throughout the day, while also accommodating the need for larger change from semester to semester. So we were given this mandate in the project that this building needs to be flexible and needs to be able to accommodate overnight change. And so while it may not necessarily be overnight, over a weekend, this building can reconfigure pretty quickly to meet either a need for a special seminar or a need for a special project that's coming down the pipes. And then this last slide, the team worked really hard together to consider every surface and every aspect of this building as a tool for collaboration and learning. And seeing these activities like you see in these pictures, really start to stand as a testimony to how students are really using these spaces. And these are things that you see every day when you go in and out of the building. And, Denny and Barbara, I can pass it back to you guys. I don't know if you have a story that you all want to share about this space. I know we had talked about before how professors were using, the tables and the tools to do certain projects and kind of gave them new opportunities and avenues to teach and conduct projects.
I think one of the interesting things in the building, now we've been in operation for 3 semesters, so it's been really interesting to watch how the faculty have adapted their teaching style. When they first came here, they were really using our building the same way they would use a normal smart classroom with just PowerPoint-type slides on a single screen. Well, most of our classrooms have 2, 3, up to 6 screens. We also have portable screens we can roll around the building. Now, the same faculty I saw a year ago just using PowerPoint slides. I walk in now, I don't have to walk in, the walls of glass, we can see right through. But as I walk by the classrooms, what we see is they might have a PowerPoint indeed on a portion of one of the screens, and then they might have a spreadsheet on the screen. Then they might be showing a video on another screen. Students might be putting their work up on a 4th screen. So they're using all of this technology. I don't know how they would ever adapt if they went back to another classroom. And at the same time they're doing that, they're beginning to use all of our collaborative software. So they are adapting their teaching styles, and the students are adapting their classroom collaborative styles to fit the opportunities. This really is a sort of a build it and they will come, and build it and they will use it opportunity. Denny, do you have anything?
No, I'd just say that the idea of creating a place where you bring together research and academics and undergraduate students and graduate students, they're looking for excitement. They're looking for a way to facilitate and show the material that they've created, to share that information, to receive feedback from others. And what we found is that the environment we've created here, it is evolving, where people are changing the way they interact with each other. And a very key aspect of what this architecture has allowed us to do.
We invite you to visit the LSC website for further stories from the field about the process of planning, of focusing on users in the context of focusing on the future for learning and learning spaces. Our website provides links to national reports that are major resources for planners at all stages of attending to Spaces That Matter, a portfolio of spaces that work, and collections of essays about audacious questions for planning that go beyond current practice. Information about upcoming activities related to learning spaces within the broader LSC community is also posted. The LSC is for and by the LSC community. Join us.